Hello, today is going to be a bit of a different video. Today I'm going to make food from the book I'm currently editing. I personally believe that bringing food into your books and what they eat can really bring a lot of detail about the culture that you're trying to describe. Does that make sense? Culture, environment, and so on. So that's what we're gonna do today. Oh my god, it's so bright. In the book that I'm writing, it's in the beginning of the story. They are celebrating the summer solstice. And one of the main character's friends has made some food, so they're having this picnic. And that's what I'm gonna recreate the best I can. I don't have necessarily what they have in the books because it's a made-up world. They would have different fruits and stuff, so I'm just gonna recreate it with what I have in this world. But what I'm trying to create today is, let me see if I can find the exact sentence. So today the menu is going to be flaky rolls with mushrooms and goat cheese, a fruit salad with nuts and berries, as well as freshly baked bread with herby butter. So that's what I'm going to create with the best of my abilities. And what I have decided on is that I'm going to make some focaccia bread. And so we're gonna start with the bread because that is going to be what takes the longest time. I mean, it's gonna rise for at least 2 hours, I believe, in total. So we're just gonna get started with that. I have my bowl. Yeah, right, kiddos? I have my bowl. Yes, it's a nice big bowl. I'm gonna get my recipe in my recipe book. Yes, I'm gonna go with a focaccia. Is that how you pronounce it? Focaccia bread. If I can find the recipe. Yes, and I have a recipe for focaccia right here. So we're gonna need some yeast, some water, some salt, and some olive oil. Yes, hello. I have my yeast. Yes. This is fresh yeast. I believe that a lot of countries around the world don't use fresh yeast. They use instant yeast or dried yeast. This is what's easiest for me to get, so I'm using this, and also that's what my recipe book calls for. But I believe that you can find online, you can just search what I believe you need to use more of this than you need to use of instant/dried yeast. This is the recipe. I need 2, 3. I have my 5 deciliters of water. I have my yeast. And now we're just gonna open this up. If I can do it one-handed. Oh, look at that. That's the yeast. And now we're just gonna crumble this in. As it says in the recipe. It looks kind of weird right now, but yes. And then we just stir that around to dissolve the yeast. Then I need some salt and some olive oil. 1 deciliter. Just give it a stir, even though it's not gonna mix. And then we need to put in the flour. That is the dough so far. Now I'm just gonna cover it. Here is my dough. And I'm just gonna let it rise for 1.5 hours. And so I will see you then. It's gonna be 1.5 hours for me, but probably way less time for you. It is time. The dough has risen. I have it right here. I'm gonna knead it, or just lift it and stretch it all around. I've heard that that's what you do. So now I need to put it into my tin forms. I have this because that's easier for me. I believe that then they shouldn't have as much time in the oven, but I'm just gonna have to try. So I take a little bit of dough, form it, and then plop it in. And I just sort of fold it in on itself. So I have a little dough ball, and then I plop it in. Yes. And I do that with all 12 of them. How you doing? How are you doing? I don't think that this is the right bread that my character in my book would make. She would make more like a standard bun instead of focaccia, but I wanted focaccia, so I was gonna make focaccia. Oh my god, can it actually fit all of them? That would be so neat. There we go. All of my dough balls in here. And now it is time to let them rise for another 30 minutes. So I'm just gonna cover them. Yep. And let them rise by themselves for 30 minutes. Now while that is rising yet again, I am going to make some of the other things needed. I made a list. All the stuffs of focaccia. Rise, yes. Then put into a rise again for a half an hour. I should put an alarm just so I don't forget. Half an hour rise, yes. Then I need to fry some nuts and some shrooms, just because I like the texture of nuts better when it has been like toasted a little bit. And then the shrooms, I need to get rid of as much moisture as I can because they need to go into the puff pastry in the oven as well. Yes. So I will do that, and I will show you, I guess. I will show you. Now I had the choice of two types of nuts. I had hazelnuts and I have almonds. And I do think that hazelnuts would fit better, but this bag is open, so I'm gonna go with almonds instead and toast those. So I do also like almonds, so it doesn't really matter, to be honest. Anyways, hello. I'm not gonna really measure how many nuts I take. I'm just gonna take a handful because it's just fruit salad for me and me only, so there's no reason to really go with many. Yeah? Okay, I'm gonna go to 2 handfuls, and then I'm just gonna roughly chop them. I've roughly chopped my nuts. It's actually looking like there's a lot more than I need. Oh well, I can use it for something else. But these are gonna get toasted on the pan. I could also toast them in the oven, but I'm choosing to do it on the pan. Yes, and then this is just gonna stand by itself for a little while I keep an eye on it. That is important. I need to keep an eye on it, otherwise it might go too toasty. While that is toasting on the stove, I can begin to wash and dry and chop my mushrooms. And they are gonna be mixed with goat cheese to go inside of my puff pastry. Here I have my mushrooms. Yeah, I do, kittens. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. Now I gotta wash my hands. Yeah, I do, James. It's because you want food, Vector. Oh my god, it is food time. It is food time. Oh. Anyways, I've got my washed and dried mushrooms. I know you're not supposed to actually wash your mushrooms. You're just supposed to pat them with a damp towel or something. I have never really understood what you're supposed to do with mushrooms, but I washed them and I dried them anyways because I didn't know what else to do. I could probably figure out what to do, but I was just gonna wash and dry them. So now I need to chop them very finely. My nuts are done toasting. They smell fragrant. So now it's time to put them in a bowl somewhere because I need to use the pan for the mushrooms. I just roughly chopped my mushrooms and now I'm gonna put them on the pan. I am also going to include garlic in this recipe, and I'm not gonna toast them with the mushrooms because I want a different flavor of garlic, so I'm just gonna chop them and put them into the mixture of goat cheese and mushrooms. Yes. Now for my focaccia, I have some fresh rosemary that I'm going to top it off with. So I'm just gonna wash and cut this. No, actually I won't cut it. I will just have it as bigger pieces. But I will cut more rosemary because I want to have a butter with rosemary as well. I have some more rosemary. I also have some rosemary in here. This is for the bread and this is for the butter. So I'm just gonna really finely chop this and then mix it with butter. That was the timer for the bread, so now it can go into the oven, which I have preheated. This is how the butter is looking. I'm just gonna put it back into the fridge. Here we have the mushrooms. They are looking just fine. A lot of moisture has come out of them, which was the whole point of frying them before they go into the oven with the puff pastry. Yes. Here we have my buns, focaccia buns. They have rested for half an hour. They are looking kind of plump. I'm gonna put some olive oil on them and then dimple them, and then put some rosemary on them as well. And then they go into the oven, and I'm not certain. I'm gonna give them 10 minutes to start with. Yes, maybe 15. Here they are, all dimpled and oiled up. So now I'm going to put some rosemary on them. And then into the oven they go. Whoop, 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 whoop. Now I have the mushrooms. They've shrunk quite a lot and drawn out a lot of moisture. So now I'm gonna mix it with the goat cheese. I have my goat cheese, depuis Sauvignon. I'm gonna mix it with my mushrooms. I'm not gonna use all of it. I'm just gonna use maybe a third of goat cheese. I have the goat cheese and now I just need to mix it all together. Yes. Doesn't look too appetizing, but I'm sure it's gonna be tasty once it goes into the puff pastry. I'm just gonna add some salt to it, then that's basically it. I could add some more herbs to it. I might consider doing that. I have some thyme. I'm not certain that I would use rosemary just because I've used so much rosemary and everything else. So I'm just gonna use some thyme. I don't have fresh thyme, unfortunately, so I'm just gonna use dried thyme. Yes. Yes, I have some puff pastry that I bought from the supermarket, and then I'm just gonna add my mushroom and goat cheese mixture into some pockets and then bake them in the oven for however long this tells me to. That is the plan. So far so good. The bread is in the oven. The mushroom and goat cheese mixture is ready. I just need to cut this out. I have the butter ready and I have the nuts, so now I need to cut the fruit into the fruit salad. That's basically all I need to do. And I have kind of a lot of puff pastry, so I'm thinking that I will save some of it and then use some tomorrow. But I'm not going to use all of this puff pastry. Now I'm just gonna crimp the edges. Even though I've never done that before, I don't really know how to do it, to be honest. These are my puff pastries. They look a little wonky, I feel, like eyes. But I'm gonna, I don't know what it's called, but I'm gonna put a wash over them with some milk. Yeah, just because I don't have eggs. And now I just need to wait till the oven is ready, or how should I say this? Free. Here the buns are. They have grown, and I put the puff pastry into the oven for 15 minutes. They were in there for 20 minutes, just as the recipe said. And now the puff pastry is what we're waiting for. It's going to be in there for 15 minutes. And I put a time. The buns are done. I fried the shrooms and nuts, toasted them, and put the focaccia in. I made the herby butter. I made the shroom and cheese mixture, and then I made the puff pastries and I put them in the oven. Now it's time to make the fruit salad. That's probably the easiest part of this whole thing. Just cut some fruit. And now I don't have the fruit that they would have, but I just chose whatever I like in my fruit salad. Yes. Let's get to it. We're soon done. We're soon done. My puff pastries have come out the oven. They're looking pretty good. Maybe a little darker than I wanted, and I didn't even give them as much as the packaging said. But it is time to plate up, and I'm gonna just make myself a plate and then show you my plate. I'm gonna take a puff pastry, and I'm gonna take bun. It looks like a muffin. I'm gonna take some fruit salad. I'm gonna take some of my toasted nuts and sprinkle them on top of my fruit salad. And I believe that that is it. Oh, the butter. I have some flaky sea salt that I'm just gonna top off my butter with. Let me show you. And now the only thing left is to taste it. So, what shall we start with? I have my plate right here. I will start with the bread, since that was the first thing that I made. Can you see the steam? Or is that just from my point of view? Anyway, the bread, yes. With some of the butter. The bread is soft and fluffy, and the butter is very herby, very rosemary and salty because I put some flaky sea salt on top. It's really good. It's really good. Now the puff pastry. Yes. I am uncertain about this one because I didn't follow a recipe. It's just mushrooms, thyme, salt, cheese. Anyway, let's see if I can get some of the filling in. That's good. It's very mushroomy and quite goat cheesy, but and the thyme you can taste the thyme that I put in here, and it's really good. And now the fruit salad. With nuts. Let me just dig in. I mean, it's just fruit. What could go wrong with that? Yeah. The raspberries are really good. I would say that this was a success. I didn't expect it to, but I actually think I like the puff pastry with the mushroom filling the best. I don't know, maybe it's just because I really like mushrooms and goat cheese and thyme, and that's just basically what it is. I mean, it's also a little salty, but it's just umami flavored. It's really good. But I still have food in my mouth. But please let me know what sort of food there is in your books or worlds that you think up. I would love to know and see if you can describe them. But please let me know if you would try something like this, where you would cook food as close as possible as to food from your book, or whether you don't really think about food in your books, because I personally think it adds a lot to the world building. But what is something that you think adds really a lot to world building that isn't food? No, at this point I'm just rambling on. Please let me know, was this a weird video? Was it okay? I would love to know. And I would love to know what kind of presumptions you have about the world in my book based on the food that I've shown you today. What kind of setting is it? Yes, I would love to know, but that is it from me. I will see you in the next one. Bye. Bye.